The transition to electric vehicles comes with some serious challenges that are worth discussing. And one of the things I want to discuss is the Inflation Reduction Act, which included a provision that had enhanced tax subsidies for individuals who want to purchase electric vehicles. Now, it's supposed to be an incentive to buy electric vehicles. I get the reasoning behind it. There was a program that actually started back in 2008 that would provide about $7,500 in tax credits for people who purchase electric vehicles. However, what this new Inflation Reduction Act does is it expands it by adding an additional $4,000, again, in the form of the tax credits. So it'll be the $7,500 plus an additional $4,000. But again, there is a catch, and that's what I want to talk about. So for years, prospective electric vehicle buyers could count on federal vehicle tax credit, which amounts to $7,500 and on a wide range of EV models. And as I said, this new bill adds an additional $4,000. Okay, so let's fast forward to what the exceptions are. The final assembly of any qualified vehicles must take place in North America. And the credit will also hinge on the vehicle size, its total cost, and potential buyer's income. Starting before 2024, at least 40% of the critical minerals and at least half of the battery components used to build the new eligible EVs will need to come from the US or one of its free trade partners to access the full credit. Okay, if there's one thing that Americans know about this country, we've outsourced manufacturing jobs and we do not source the minerals necessary for electric vehicle batteries here in the United States. In fact, many of those incredibly important minerals are sourced in other countries, and China's got a lot of control over a lot of those minerals because they decided to actually take, electric vehicles, solar panels, renewable energy, things like that a lot more seriously than the United States did. So they kind of had a head start on all of that. The critical minerals used in electric vehicle batteries are currently sourced from all over the world. The lion's share of cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo, while lithium tends to come from South America and Australia. It's part of the reason why the United States was behind an effort to do a coup in Bolivia that luckily didn't work out, and the people of Bolivia rose up and decided to get rid of the right-wing dictators who took part in that coup. But nonetheless, I mean, we need to think about the issues around the minerals necessary for the EV batteries. US reserves of minerals like cobalt, lithium, and nickel are just a small fraction of the world's current supply. Even stricter rules will eventually kick in. By 2024, eligible vehicles can't incorporate any battery components from China or other foreign entities of concern. And in 2025, they can't include any critical minerals from these countries either. And China is responsible for more than 70% of the global battery cell production. The country not only makes much of the world's battery components, like cathode materials, but is also home to the largest battery manufacturer, contemporary Amperex Technology Co. And so I'll just give you one more stat that should concern you about whether anyone's really gonna qualify for the tax credits necessary to buy these electric vehicles. Around 70% of the electric, hydrogen, and hybrid cars currently sold in the United States will not be eligible for the credit, according to the Alliance of Automotive Innovation. And Cenk, I get the idea. I get that we're trying to persuade industry to manufacture things here and to source minerals here. But I just have a problem with how that's not guaranteed, number one. And the way that the Inflation Reduction Act was advertised to the American people made it seem like, we're actually gonna help ordinary people afford these insanely expensive electric vehicles. And it looks like, no, there are insanely strict rules that work against ordinary people who might wanna take advantage of that tax credit.
Yeah, here's what I'm really worried about. All of this hinges on, do Democrats know what they're doing? Because I remember an era of competence in the government where if you're drawing up a bill like this, you would take up a decent amount of time writing it up, because you would talk to the experts and you would say, okay, is this realistic? Is it possible? How quickly can we get there? And if they've done all the due diligence on it and they know that it's possible, then it's a positive thing to have it produced here in America. But if they haven't done the due diligence or they're wrong about it, it'll become a totally pointless bill. And then we'll have all the negative parts of the bill and none of the positive parts of the bill. And a couple of years from now, you'll start to see reports of them going, well, it was just poorly worded and there was nothing we could do.
Yeah.
And the fossil fuel industry got everything they wanted and we didn't get any positive developments on renewable energies. Golly gee, there was nothing we could do. Oh boy, I don't know which one of those two things it is, because you'd have to be a deep expert in this field to know if this is realistic or not. But are you sure you want to bet on Democratic competence?
No, I don't. I'm genuinely concerned, okay? I'm genuinely concerned with what's happening on a federal level, but also what's happening at a state level here in California, where Gavin Newsom has announced that California will be banning the sale of new gas-powered vehicles in the state beginning in 2035. Now, some people might think that sounds fantastic, great, that's wonderful. Except I don't know if we're really set up for this, okay? I'll tell you why. So right now, California, Southern California is experiencing a severe heat wave. And a few days after announcing this plan to ban the sale of new gas powered vehicles, he does another press conference where he's like, yeah, so we're gonna need you because of like the blackouts that are happening due to the heat wave and how our energy grid is just being overwhelmed right now. We're just gonna ask you guys with electric vehicles to like, don't plug in your electric vehicles, okay? What? So we've got a whole electric system that can't even handle a heat wave at a time when, yes, there's global warming, the climate is warming. Maybe we need to stop putting the cart before the horse and make sure we have the infrastructure in place to deal with this very bold thing that Democrats in California are doing. I'm not saying I'm against electric vehicles. I'm just saying that everything seems to be done so haphazardly without taking any real consideration about how much it's gonna cost ordinary people who couldn't afford electric vehicles, considering how much they cost today, right? Now, I get that the idea is eventually like with any new technology, the price will come down. Sure, great, except we're talking about California where the cost of living is already incredibly high. The federal subsidies seem shady as hell because most electric vehicles don't even qualify. We don't have the electric infrastructure in California to handle a freaking heat wave. I'm just really concerned about what this all means. And right now in Castaic, California, there is another wildfire. So let's say you were a good environmentalist, you're environmentally conscious, and you decide that you're gonna somehow scrape up the money to buy the electric vehicle, but you're in Castaic and you just got an evacuation order. But you're told not to charge your electric vehicle. What happens then? How do you get out of that situation? Does anyone think about this stuff?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm worried about. So look, if they've thought it through and it's possible, then I think it's a great thing. And California is really important because it's so gigantic that if you have a good governor here and solidly led Democratic led legislature and they pass good laws, it'll force the market to react to it. Because you can't say, hey, I'm not gonna sell cars in California because California is the fifth. If it was its own country, it'd be the fifth largest economy in the world. So it's a market mover. And so it's a good idea to do something like this if you've got all of your ducks in a row. Now, what I'm worried about is corporate Democrats, a lot of politicians do, but corporate Democrats are the king of this, love to do things where they go, okay, I'm not gonna help you in the short term. Like Gavin Newsom recently said, no, I don't want $18 minimum wage in California. I'm gonna prevent it from going on the ballot. So that would help you right now, today. It would be immeasurable help. It would be over $6,000 worth of help for 5 million Californians. And he's like, no, the Chamber of Commerce doesn't want that. You're not getting that, okay? But I will pass something that might or might not happen in the year 2035 because I won't be governor then. I'll have moved on to other things. And if it falls apart because it was totally unrealistic, who cares? I've already moved on with my career and I already got all the corporate cash. And I got your votes because it looked like I was doing something really positive. So that's why this story in particular, the devil is in the details. Is it realistic or is it not?
You know, and the state of Virginia had previously agreed to follow suit with what California is doing with the ban of gas-powered vehicles by 2035, but they have decided to renege on that agreement because they realize that they would not have the infrastructure necessary to support that influx of electric vehicles if they followed suit, right? So again, I don't know how this is all really gonna play out. I am worried that they will implement that ban, and in the end, what'll end up happening is people who can't afford electric vehicles are gonna turn to gas-powered vehicles, used gas-powered vehicles. There's gonna be increased demand for the gas-powered used vehicles, which will drive up the price. And people who are already living in the most expensive state in this country are gonna be squeezed even further. It's just, you gotta think ahead a little more, and if we've got these vulnerabilities with our infrastructure, maybe fix that before you decide to do these like blanket bans. But nonetheless, this is what we're dealing with.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.